With the Super Rugby season just around the corner, I thought we'd take a look at the Super Rugby coaches of the 15 teams and just how likely it is that any of them will, for one reason or another, not be in their job at some point during the season. Super Rugby is a sport in general that not a lot of coaches get sacked mid-season. If there is going to be a cut, it's usually at the end of the season. Sometimes contracts broken early. Sometimes guys get paid out. Sometimes they quit due to the pressure or lack of performances or whatever. It's not quite as bad as something like, English Premier League, where guys, like half the managers, lose their job every year. But yeah, I thought I'd divide it up into no chance, low chance, medium, or high chance of either of them getting fired, having the contract terminated, getting demoted, whatever it is that takes them away from the top job of the team. So I'll start with a fairly obvious one, I think. Brad Thorne at the Reds. I didn't see how long his contract is as head coach of the Reds, but it's a secret to pretty much no one that they won't call it a rebuild, but they're rebuilding the Red squad. They've got a lot of young guys in their team. Nobody's really expecting anything of them. He's a new coach. If they don't get anywhere, it's not going to be unexpected. And if they get somewhere, it's a bonus. So there's no chance that Brad Thorne loses his job this year or at the end of the season. I don't see it happening. He is a shoo-in to still be around. The next one, I thought, would be Jamie Joseph at the Sunwolves. As far as I'm aware, he's only on the Sunwolves contract for a year, so there's a possibility that he will leave the job, but I don't think there's any chance of it being not his choice if he doesn't do that job, because he's the coach of the Japan national team. So you're not going to sack the Sunwolves coach because clearly there's a plan to get the two aligned, so there would be no reason to get rid of him as Sunwolves coach. There's been a definite plan, and that plan is going to continue. Whether or not he does coach next year kind of remains to be seen. Next, so last year's Super Rugby winning coach, Scott Robertson at the Crusaders. Winning the comp pretty much buys you a year, right? I don't see any reason. I know in English Premier League, Leicester did it to Claudio Ranieri, but I can't see it happening in rugby. He's got a 3-year contract which started last year, so he's got till 2019. Even if they do really poorly, there's no way he's getting the sack. There's no way he's getting demoted. There's no way he's leaving. He's going to have the top job for sure. John Mitchell at the Blues. Bulls? Good Lord. Imagine John Mitchell at the Blues. So John Mitchell at the Bulls. If you've seen the press conference when he was initially appointed, when he was still actually working with USA Rugby, his previous employer, the CEO of the Bulls basically said, give us time, be patient, things are going to take a while. So there's no expectation that he gets it right now. I mean, the fans will probably want to see something happen, but I think at the boardroom level, they're pretty comfortable with things not happening immediately. So yeah, I don't see any reason John leaves the Bulls for whatever reason. No, can't see it happening. I'm not really sure what happened to Nolis Murray. I know he was going to do the Curry Cup team and then he was going to do like an under-20s team or something, or whether he's on gardening leave or whatever happened. I'm not really sure. Next one, I think no chance. Colin Cooper at the Chiefs. He's just signed a 3-year contract, and he's a coach with a lot of experience at Super Rugby level. So there's no way they're gonna cut him. No way they're gonna pay out a contract that long. They wouldn't do that to a guy with that much kind of respect in the New Zealand rugby community. Even if they have a poor season, as a new coach, he's at least going to get a second season to back it up, for sure. And last one, Chris Boyd at the Hurricanes. He's already leaving at the end of the season, so what are they going to do, fire him? No. he's the coach who brought them their first title, so he's going to leave as a well-respected figure no matter what happens this year. Yeah, there's no chance anything happens because he's already leaving anyway. So those are the only 6 that I think there's no chance of anything happening. The next few I still think it's really, really unlikely, but I'll go through a few. So Aaron Major at the Highlanders, he's also signed a 3-year contract. So I think that makes it really highly unlikely they're going to want to cut him because, again, no one wants to pay out a contract that long. And also, the Highlanders weren't always good under Jamie Joseph. So there's clearly a bit of patience there at the management boardroom level that things don't have to be right straight away. So I think he gets time. I think the only reason I've put them here instead of here is just because he did get sacked from his last job when he was the interim coach at Leicester in the Aviva Premiership. So just that kind of seed of doubt that does this guy have what it takes? Kind of puts him in there. Next, Swiss de Brain at the Lions. I couldn't find how long his contract was either. And again, I think he's almost here. It's just the bar was set so high by Johan Ackermann that if he can't, if he gets close to it, that's fine. But if they just totally go off the boil, which I can't see happening, but if by some chance it had, there might be a reason that he loses his job. But again, it would be a pretty slim chance. It's just that seed of doubt and that extra pressure from the expectations set from the last couple of years. So, yeah, really unlikely. Next, Mario Ledesma at the Jaguares. So he's a new coach again. I think expectations are probably playoffs, but just to do better than what they've done the last couple of years. The last guy managed to keep his job with poor performances, so yeah, he's a really well-respected respected figure in Argentinian rugby, so I can't see him getting the sack. He did ditch the Wallabies. He was contracted through to 2019 and he left to coach the Jaguares, so that's, again, just that little seed of doubt about the stability there, but I think really unlikely. Next. So, Robbie Fleck, he was appointed under kind of difficult circumstances when Eddie Jones started the role and then left before the season actually got underway to go to coach England. So he's, I think, generally been seen to be making progress with the Stormers. So the problem with setting progress is you set that expectation. But yeah, I really can't see it happening. I think he's contracted through until 2019. So again, you're having to pay someone out if they get the sack. But yeah, I think it's very, very unlikely that anything happens to Robbie. And last, in a very similar situation as Robert Dupria. He's been showing progress. I think they're heading in the right direction. I can't really see any reason that he would get the sack, other than the Sharks have got a slight history, even though John Smith's gone now, but he sacked John Plumtree under kind of strange circumstances. So the Sharks have got that little bit of background with getting rid of coaches. So I don't think it's likely with any of these at all. So I don't really think it's a watch this space at all. Next, medium chance for the Rebels. So Dave Vessels signed a 2-year deal. So again, he's through to 2019. He was linked with Munster, which is, again, just that seed of doubt. So if he does really well and someone comes within a really big offer, maybe he leaves. But also the Rebels, they need to improve. And if by some tragic set of circumstances they ended up having just as bad a season, I think he'd go. They need to improve ASAP. And he's brought in so many players that he can't justify not improving. So just that bit of extra pressure. Again, all he has to do is do better than last season. I think anything else is maybe getting into the good territory, but just to keep his position stable, I think just the improvement. Dan McKellar with the Brumbies. 2-year deal to 2019. Kind of a new guy to the head coach role, which adds a little bit of pressure. And he's got Laurie Fisher as assistant, who applied for the Brumbies head coaching job when Larkham applied and didn't get it. So we know that his assistant would like the job, or at least he would have in the past. So I see this one as less that he would get sacked, but if things didn't go well for the Brumbies, there's a chance that they could do a swap where Fisher ends up in the top role and Dan McKellar goes back down to the assistant job, which he's done for so many years. So, again, it's only medium chance. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think it's more likely there than some of these other places. Last one for medium. I'm going to put the Blues on here. Just because Tana's contract is up at the end of this season, all the talk is they should sign him at least for another year, because again, they've been kind of like the Sharks and the Stormers. They've been seen to be on the improve since he took over. But whether he decides to stay or not, it's kind of up to him. I don't think there's been any indications that he wants to go, but the Blues organisation haven't signed him up yet, and the season's already starting getting underway. So it's the kind of thing that you'd want to get written down, get it locked in, just to so everyone can just focus on the rugby, basically. Talk is that because 2 big New Zealand coaches are coming off contract at the end of the World Cup, so it's Warren Gatland with Wales and Schmidt with Ireland, that the Blues might be looking at one of them. That's still only real speculation at the moment, but I think in recent years the Blues have wanted to go for big names, so if they were going to replace Tana, it would have to be someone with a pretty big name. So yeah, it's kind of that one is getting into a watch this space kind of situation. The last one, Daryl Gibson at the Waratahs. So his contract's up at the end of the season. I think he's lucky to be still coaching this year. Like the Reds cut their coach last year, 1 year into I think 2-year deal. So it's not unheard of that guys get their contract kind of shut off early. He's had really 2 very poor seasons where they haven't made the playoffs, and it's not that long ago that they were champions. So I can't see any way that he gets a new contract unless he wins it, which is really unlikely. I think end of the season he's shown the exit. Thank you for your time, but no thanks. We don't want you back. And even possibly if they get off to a real shocker, they might just cut him mid-season and just get somebody else as a caretaker, because things have not been good, and it gets into a how could it get any worse kind of situation with the Waratahs. So that's what I reckon. I wouldn't be putting money on any massive coaching changes, but with sports, you never know. There's always that potential for something to happen. Let me know what you think. If you think anyone else is going to get the chop, or anyone should get the chop. But that's it from me for this one. And Super Rugby, not far away. And I'll see you guys for probably a round 1 preview at some point in the coming days. All right, catch you later.